Hey staff, we've got a painting project today. Follow along with me for all your steps to create your own nighttime moth picture. Okay staff, welcome to the weird world of having me up here and in person at the same time. This is what your students have to endure. So the first thing we do is make our palette of colors. They all have strange names. You'll feel like you're doing a Bob Ross video, but these are the colors we're using today. We have phthalo blue, cadmium yellow, magenta, Mars black, aqua, unbleached titanium, and titanium white in the center. So these are what we're going to use today. You're going to take your canvas and get it right in front of you. And we're going to have some different size brushes today. We're going to need a big brush, a medium brush, and a tiny brush. The first thing we're going to do is load your big fat brush with some titanium white. And you're going to make a big circle in the center of your canvas, just like this. And you want it to be a pretty nice thick layer of paint. Without even rinsing your brush, you're going to get a little bit of the unbleached titanium that just looks like a little bit of an off-white. And you're going to blend it into your sky by starting on the outside of your white circle and just kind of blending them together. So we're going to go like this with your brush, make a little swoop, and then take your brush and it should just start to blend if you kind of go in a circle like that. Don't mind my heavy lady pregnant breathing in the background. Here we go. Look at that. You've got your first step of your sky. Now, without rinsing our brush again, we're going to load a small amount of bright aqua green onto your brush. And you're going to gently blend that aqua into the beige without over blending it. So we're going to take a little drop of this guy and we're going to go around. So first we're just going to kind of go around it and then we'll go back and kind of blend it, but we don't want to over blend because then we'll just get kind of mud. We want to just smooth it out. This is looking lovely. Beautiful job, friends. All right. The next thing we're going to do, without rinsing our brush, once again, we're going to load our brush with the phthalo blue. And again, we're going to blend that dark blue around and then slowly blend it into that aqua. You guys are doing an amazing job so far. Look at you go. We're going to take that brush and kind of let it touch that aqua and get ourselves blending it up so they just kind of fade from one color to the next. Beautiful. Once you feel satisfied with your blending, we'll move on to the next step. All right, we are now approaching kind of the edge of our canvas. You'll notice I'm using paper, but you have a nice canvas that will hold this paint a little better. Okay, we are going to take a little bit of that Mars black and we're going to go right up to the corners. So we're going to just get those corners with the black. I should have a messy mat under myself, but I don't. So we're just getting right up to the edge here. Get your corners covered with black paint. You don't want to get crazy with the black because it can easily take over your picture, so you're being kind of conservative with it on your brush. And then we're just going to, once we get that on there, you're going to re-dip into the blue, and this is going to help you kind of blend that black into the blue. So you got your black corners on here, get that blue, and let's blend. Just wiggling your brush back and forth, blending it up. It's looking good. All right, let's do that other side. If you hear singing in the background, that is the magic of music next door. All right, look at that beautiful blended sky. You did it. All right, we don't want to over blend it so it turns into mud. You can still see the layers, but we have gone back and smoothed out anywhere you see chunkiness, so it looks like a nice smooth fade from one color to the next color. All right, we're gonna go ahead and wash and rinse that brush. And then I like to have a paper towel next to everybody so we can get that extra water. I tell the kids that this paint is not watercolor. It doesn't like the extra water, so we like to just dab that off. Set that down, pick up your tiny brush, and we're ready for the next part. All right, we're gonna have our little guy brush, and we're gonna dip into our black, and you could even, if you wanted to be a little fancy, take some of that raw umber and mix it with your black. Not a ton, you're not gonna need a lot, just to get the black a little lighter. This is gonna be for your branch. Okay, we're gonna have one branch that kind of swoops down from up here, down around our moon. So you're just gonna come down here, kind of a straight line, move it to the side this way, move it over here this way, and we can make it a little more gnarled and fat right here if we like. You're gonna have a little piece of your branch come on over here, and we can have another piece of your branch kind of come out over this way. There's your first branch. Grab that color you made on your brush, and we're gonna come down from this side. So a little above halfway on your middle mark here, you're gonna come down at an angle for your first line. Let's do a little curve going up. Looking good. And then you're just going to add kind of a little bent, getting skinnier as you go out, shape right here. There's the tip of that branch. Bring that down. Load a little more paint onto your brush. And let's bring this one, we're gonna have this swoop down under the moon. So coming down and just going over a little bit. And then I'm gonna have it come kind of make a U shape here, coming under and coming back up. We're also gonna have a little branch come off of here. Looking great. Now, without even rinsing your brush, you could take some of the black and add some dark onto your branch for a little shadow. And we could add a little dark up here as well. We can also take a little bit of that unbleached titanium, just a little corner of it, And we can add a little highlight. You don't want too much on your brush. Just a little bit for that little highlight. It's gonna make your branch look a little more 3D. I'm gonna go back over here where I had it a little too bright and blend it out. All right, friends, your branches are looking amazing. Go ahead and rinse your little tiny brush. Tap off that extra water, and let's get ready for the next step. Okay, let's take a little drop of your magenta, kind of like we did with this color, and mix a little bit of white in there. And that's gonna give you a lighter magenta. Let's take that with your little brush, and we're gonna make a teardrop shape right here at the end of your branch. Just a nice little teardrop shape. Then you're gonna load your brush with a small amount of the white titanium without even rinsing your brush. And we're gonna paint a petal on the left of the bud. So just kind of putting a little petal right here and blending it on. And a little drop right here. So with each petal, it's kind of changing the shape so it looks like we have layers of petals here. And so we can do that again. We can get more of our magenta and make another teardrop. Then grab a little bit of white and just kind of add that petal shape so it looks like you've got extra petals kind of folded over. Perfect. Then we're going to get more of the magenta, and we're going to add another petal, so kind of coming over this way, another teardrop shape. And getting more without the white, kind of my darker shade. I'm going to come on this side, adding another teardrop. Beautiful. Can add one here too. All right, that's looking really nice. We can grab a little more and add an additional petal here. It's like an additional teardrop kind of underneath. Maybe one more down here. Adding a little of that darker, that's looking really nice. Now we're gonna try to paint a magnolia flower that is more open. So you're gonna take your brush down here and we're gonna do the petals more open like this, so maybe more rounded shape. Here. And then this way. And then we're also going to add one right over the top. That's looking really nice. We're going to add some additional petals. So now we're going to have one coming out this way. And one more petal coming this way. Each time, depending on if you're grabbing more of the magenta or the white, it kind of changes the way the petal is shaped. Looking beautiful. Let's add an additional heart-shaped magnolia right here. Well, that's our little teardrop shape. Get some of the darker and add a second petal. That's looking great. Adding a little more of that magenta color from our palette. And we're gonna put another blossom up here at the end of this branch. That same kind of teardrop shape coming this way. We can get a little more white, make this one lighter. Make a darker one. Beautiful. All right, let's add another one. Taking our magenta, let's make an open. So that was like a teardrop here. And then this way. So our second one. A third one. Get a little of that white. And change it up a little. Make a fourth petal. And then let's make one more petal going this way. Beautiful. All right, now we're going to wash that little brush clean. And we're going to tap it dry. Let's get a little bit of our Hooker's green. And we can do the same thing where we mix a little bit of that titanium white just to give us a slightly lighter shade of our green. Looking good. Let's add some leaves. So kind of just hugging around the bottom of your first petal, we'll just add a little leaf shape here and a little leaf shape hugging the bottom here. And if you want, you can dip back into your darker green and just add a little shadow. Beautiful. Get some of that mixed lighter color. We'll do the same here. We'll add a little leaf kind of hugging underneath our flower and hug a leaf under this one. Get a little bit of a darker shade if you need it to show up a little more. And maybe have a little leaf coming down like this. Maybe a little more of that dark color. Beautiful. Get that light green you made, load it on your brush. And let's add a leaf under here. Perfect. Looking good. We can even come over here and just add some leaves coming out right here. Might grab a drop of that white. Oh, may have overdone it. But taking a little white could make it show up more. There we go. Beautiful. All right, we can also paint some little leaves just kind of popping off our branch over here. Maybe we'll have one coming down this way. Maybe a little leaf popping off a branch over here. Get a little more of your green color. Let's add in kind of this darker area. We can lighten it up with a leaf. We could put some little baby leaves over here. And this is totally however you want your picture to look. You can add lots of leaves. Get a little of that darker. Beautiful. All right, we've got flowers, we've got leaves. Now we're going to rinse that brush out. Give it a little tap tap to get off the extra water. Now we have our two open blooms of our magnolias here. So let's get our yellow and we can just tap a little drop of yellow in the center of our flowers. Beautiful, that looks great. Okay, now it is time for us to work on that Luna moth. So let's go ahead and rinse off our brush, give it a tap tap, and get ready for that next part. Okay, let's get into some fancy color mixing. let us take some of that white here, and we're going to mix it up with some of the yellow here. And then we're gonna grab a drop of this green. And what we're trying to make is like a nice limey green. So we did a little yellow, a little white, a little green. I might get a little extra white. And we're getting this beautiful lime green that you made. Okay, your brush is ready. Your color is ready. Let's be in this bottom left corner of your paper, and we're gonna have our moth kind of here coming down. So you're going to make kind of a C shape here, a little C shape, and then you're gonna go out and come back with another little C shape and come up to make your first wing kind of, and I'm gonna point this out a little more. And there is your wing shape. We're going to make a triangle shape, kind of like this. Triangle. And then over here, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna go out, kind of a backward C shape, kind of bump in and then back out. And you might have to adjust. Maybe this one's a little too small. You might have to add on. But we're gonna try to get 2 wings of the same shape and get this limey color onto your wings. I'm adding a little more because mine looks a little see-through. Okay, so it comes out, in, and back out on both sides. Now what you're gonna do is we're going to get a little bit more of the green, and we're going to add it on your palette right here just to make a darker shade. This is gonna give our moth a little color variation, so it's not all just one color. So we made a little darker lime right there. Let's take that darker lime and kind of outline and just smooth it in. I might even make it a little bit darker. And smooth it down. Now it fades from our original lime to a little bit of a darker lime at the edge. We're doing that on both sides, taking some of that darker lime around the edge of the wing, and then going back and forth on our brush to kind of smooth it out. Beautiful. We can even get a bit of that aqua green that we had before this one, and take a little drop of that and blend it into the top of the wing on both sides, just to give us a little bit of that color variation again. So now we've got our light green, our light lime, our darker lime, and a little of aqua. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit of the yellow and white. So let's go ahead and rinse that brush real quick. Give it a tap. Take a drop of your yellow, find a spot of your white that we can make a lighter yellow, like a white and yellow mix. And we're gonna put that color in the triangle shape right here. Some of that black might try to show through, so we might add a second layer. All right, so now we've got this yellow triangle. Looking good. Rinse your brush off, give it a tap tap. Get the plain white right here, and we're gonna put a little upside down U shape for the head, like a little half circle, and we're gonna make that white. Perfect. Now we're going to try to paint a feather-like antenna using our tiny little detail brush. And so we're going to take our white again, and we're going to try to make just a very thin line here and a very thin line here. Keeping with that thin line, we're going to try to make a feathery shape. So we're going to have little short lines, and they're going to get smaller, 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 bigger at the bottom. So it's a bigger here and smaller at the top, and we're trying to get that feathery looking shape. Perfect. I'm gonna add a little more white here, see if I can't get that to lighten up a little. Go ahead and wash your brush clean and give it a tap. Going back to that little yellow shape, or the yellow color we had, this light yellow, let's extend the shape of the body and have it come down to like a point. So just a nice pointy moth body coming on back. The next thing we're going to do is go back to your lime green. We're going to make it come out from here and loop back. Color that in. Get more of your lime, and we're going to have it come out and loop back and color that in. If yours is looking thin like mine, you might rinse your brush and really make sure you get off that excess water, because it might just be getting a little thin. I'm going to get some of that darker lime that we created, and I'm going to add that around the edge and fill that in, and adding some of that darker lime around the edge. We're going to take some of that lime and we're going to make kind of a squiggle. We're going to kind of squiggle your brush down, and then it's going to have a little kind of rounded loop shape at the end. Take your brush again, wiggle out, in, out, and a little circular shape at the tip there. Perfect. We can get a little bit of that yellowish color and add that to our wing. We can also get some of our aqua color and add that to our wing. So we're trying to kind of blend the wing and get it so it's not so see-through. And yours might not be having the same problem because I'm on paper and you are on canvas. Let's take some of our darker green and add it to that lime just to get us a nice color for a shadow. So we're just darkening up a little. Still lime, but a little darker. And we can kind of show where that shadow from the top wing is darkening this bottom wing. And we'll do that here as well. Just adding a little darker green around the edge for that shadow. We can also go back over this if it's looking too light. That is looking amazing. Let's rinse that brush clean. Tap off that extra water. Grab a drop of your white, and let's add a little white highlight to the body of our moth. Perfect. Okay, wash your brush, tap it dry, grab a little bit of that aqua. Let's add more of kind of an aqua kind of circle here at the bottom. So we're adding lots of layers to add dimension to our color. Let's take a little of that aqua and put it at the end of that little swoop on both sides. Perfect. We're also going to dip a little, so we're going to really rinse that brush, tap it dry, and get just a little bit of your phthalo blue. Not a ton. We're going to add a little line across the top of that top wing, and a little line of that blue across the other side. So starting by the head and just swirling it across. We're also going to take a drop of that phthalo blue and draw a skinny, skinny line underneath our moth's head. All right, we've got this beautiful dark blue line that goes across the top and it goes across the face, kind of outlining the top edge of our wing. All right, now we are going to rinse our brush, tap it clean, grab a little bit of that raw umber color and add a little bit to your yellow to make kind of a darker yellow. So we grabbed a little of this, adding it to the yellow to make a darker yellow. Perfect. We're doing this all with our tiny brush. Okay, we're gonna add the eye pattern to the top of the left and right wing. So up here, it's that kind of circle eye shape. Right there, grabbing your yellow color again. Gonna add that shape right here to your moth. Looking good. We can also add a little bit of texture to the body, not a lot, but just like a few little short lines, because these moths are really fuzzy in real life. Looking good. Now, rinse your brush clean, tap off that extra water, dip into your phthalo blue. Once again, that's your dark blue. Get a little dark blue on your brush. We're going to accentuate that eye pattern by adding just a little line of blue around the edge of it right here. Boop. And let's get a little more of that blue and add that half circle around the eye on this side. Perfect. I'm actually going to make mine a little darker because you can't see it very well. There we go. Now you can see it. Okay, rinse your little brush off, tap off your extra water, get back into that yellow, that dark yellow that you made by mixing a little of the raw umber with your cadmium. Make yourself two little eye patterns down here. 1, 2. Wash that brush clean. Get a little drop of that phthalo blue. And let's add a little kind of eye shape to the center with the blue to make it show up a little better. Perfect. Okay, wash that brush clean. Our moth is really coming along. Rinse that off. Grab some plain old titanium white from your palette. That's just the plain bright white. And we're gonna do a little outline around the edge of the the wing around here, all the way down around, going up to the body. Same with over here. Gently take that brush and you're outlining the best you can with your white around the edge up to where it meets the blue. We're also going to do a little outline of the bottom wing with that white. And we can add a little white highlight around the edge of the bottom of the tail. Beautiful. Go ahead and rinse your brush. Okay, let's take our little tiny brush, dip into the white, and we're gonna add just some of the veins of the moth. So very lightly, we're just kind of putting some little skinny lines coming out for the veining of the moth, like where the wings have those little veins in there. You can put some little texture of veins at the tips of the wings also, so just coming up here and back. So there's a little extra texture. Let's do that on the back wing also, just a little bit of the skinny kind of vein lines. And then rinse your brush totally clean, and you're going to get the tiniest amount of that Mars black that you can. Teeny tiny, just barely on your brush. And let's take that and make the skinniest line we can across the antenna. And that just kind of helps bring out that feathering. We're gonna also just kind of add a little drop of that back here and back here, just to kind of add a little shadow on the tail. Rinse your brush clean. All right, look at that beautiful picture you've put together. Let's add the last step. Just a drop of our titanium white. We're gonna add some little teeny tiny dots for the stars. And we're also going to add in the mix little teeny tiny straight line, little line for some of those starburst stars. So we'll have some little dot clusters. Just adding those little stars around, but also adding in straight line, skinny line, skinny line. And we're just going to sprinkle these stars throughout your background. And it really brings your whole beautiful picture together that you get to take home with you today. Look at that perfect painting. With your little brush and your titanium white, go ahead and add your signature. And that's a job well done. You could even add the date if you like. Awesome. I cannot wait to see the paintings that you create.